I will give you a show like you have never, ever seen before. Why? Because I can. Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of Call It in the Ring, a wrestling discussion with Marcus Stewart. Yours truly here, and we're going to be looking at last night's Smackdown Live, July 10th, 2018. And first of all, thank you for listening. If you are a returning listener from our debut episode yesterday where I reviewed Monday Night Raw this past Monday, if you haven't listened to that, please go back and take a listen if you'd like to hear my thoughts on the Red Show. But yeah, we are in the Go Home show, or the Go Home Smackdown specifically for Extreme Rules, which is this Sunday. And yeah, let's just get right to it. So, we kicked off Smackdown Live with The Miz and Miz TV, who had Team Hell No on as his guest. And the very first thing that stood out to me was Team Hell No has a new t-shirt that Brian was wearing to the ring, and it's kind of creepy. I don't know why. It's kind of creepy looking. It's got a picture. It's got like a actual photo of Kane's mask with Daniel Bryan's arms like photoshopped on the sides of it, so it's like the mask has arms doing the like finger pointing yes chant, and it looks like this weird abomination. I don't know, it's weird to me. Anyways, they got in the ring, and Miz and Bryan almost got into a fight before Kane intervened and told Bryan to calm down. And this was essentially just Miz trying to stir the pot between Bryan and Kane. He showed a video package of all the terrible things that Kane did to Bryan post Team Hell No, specifically after WrestleMania 30 when they feuded. It was actually Bryan's last feud before he had to drop the title due to injury, when he was tombstoning him everywhere and tried to kidnap Brie Bella. And, but it didn't work. Bryan saw right through it, as he should have. There was a great point where they meant, like, Miz compared them to NSYNC, saying it was like seeing them back together was about as likely as I think Justin Timberlake getting back with NSYNC. And Kane, just very deadpan, just kind of responded that NSYNC will never get back together, which was pretty good. It was a reminder that Kane is kind of maybe one of the most underrated comedy characters in WWE, because he is so good at just he's obviously not funny all the time. I mean, this is the most funny he's been is when he's with Daniel Bryan, as he was with his first run, but he is very good at just deadpan comedy, and this was a good example of that, and we saw a little bit more of that later tonight. But yeah, they almost came to blows when Bryan insulted Miz, and Miz got, insulted his wrestling again, and Miz got upset and started threatening Bryan, and made the mistake of making fun of Kane, calling him a broken down demon. And then right before they came to blows, the Bludgeon Brothers came out to jump into the fray. And then surprisingly, right after them, Sanity jumped in this. And that kind of showcases the beauty of Sanity, is that because of their gimmick centering around chaos, they can kind of just do whatever they want, and it works in the sense that you're like, they could jump out, they could interrupt a Divas match if they wanted to, or a women's match. I'm sorry, I don't know why I even called it a Divas match, because I hate that. They could interrupt a women's championship match, let's say, and you would raise an eyebrow, but you'd be like, oh, well, that's kind of their thing. They're just about chaos and doing things for the sake of chaos. So yeah, that's a good thing to have on your show if you need to just do something really randomly. The New Day followed Sanity's attack, and we got a big old 10-person brawl in the ring, which led to Paige coming out and doing her best Teddy Long impersonation. Not literally, but in the sense that she made a big 10-man tag main event for the night. Let's see. After that, we got Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles in what was dubbed as a WrestleMania rematch. Despite the fact this is actually the 5th time they've wrestled since WrestleMania, and actually the 2nd time that they've wrestled on SmackDown, but I digress. And we also had Rusev, along with Aiden English, on commentary. And the match itself was fine. It was, the usual good match between these two. What was notable about this match was just Rusev being pretty great on commentary. There was a point where Rusev was saying something like, he was just critiquing, pretty much just saying that AJ isn't ready for him and that he studied all of AJ's matching. It was all of AJ's combos and maneuvers, and then he had a great line saying that AJ is an open book, and I go to the library quite often. I have to say it in Rusev's like, AJ is an open book, and I go to the library quite often. That's a terrible Rusev impersonation, but you get the idea. It was a good line. And yeah, just Rusev just talking trash nonstop. Oh, there's also another great point where Byron Saxton, being his normal kind of useless self, was just asking Rusev how does he think he can beat someone like Styles, who's had over 20 years of experience and is one of the best wrestlers in the world. And Rusev retorted with, "I rode out on a tank." Has AJ Styles, who has ever rode out on a tank? Who? And yeah, he's got a good point. No one else has ever come out to the ring on a tank at WrestleMania, no less. So he's got a good point there. And any time that gets brought up is a great day for me, because that was pretty incredible at the time. But this went to a no DQ when Styles sent Nakamura outside, hit a phenomenal forearm to the outside. Aiden English started running his mouth to AJ and was rewarded with a swift punch in the face by AJ, which then caused Rusev to yank AJ out of the ring, prompting a DQ, which gave AJ the DQ victory. And then he and Nakamura proceeded to double team AJ Styles, which led to Jeff Hardy coming out. And there's also another Nakamura's kind of facial reaction to, because he was gonna Kinshasa AJ, and then Hardy's music hit, and Shinsuke's kind of annoyed / defeated expression when Jeff's music hit was pretty great. And then this Paige coming out. She actually didn't come out in the 10-man tag. The match was just made. But she came out this time to do her Teddy Long thing and was like, hey, you guys are already out here. Let's have a tag match. We got our big tag match. Nakamura, Rusev, Hardy, and Styles. And again, this was fine. Ended with the villains picking up the win with Rusev hitting the Machka kick on Jeff and pinning them. So the champs lost. I'm interested in this match. They made Rusev's look really good in this feud, and he showed some. I think sometimes people sort of kind of forget how charismatic Rusev really is. Like he was pretty gold on the commentary table. So I think that match is worth watching just to kind of listen to him just be a dick, basically. So after that, we got James Ellsworth versus Asuka in a rematch from last week's the Battle of the Sexes match. Only this time it's a lumberjack match, or I guess a lumberjill match, because all the SmackDown women's rosters surrounded the outside of the ring. James Ellsworth is really great at being a misogynistic douchebag. That's kind of been his thing. He's been saying that he's better than women. They showed some tweets of him talking about how he could beat Serena Williams because men are better, and he could outrace Danica Patrick because men are better drivers. And it works, first of all, because one, it's a jerky thing to say, especially nowadays with the women being treated on equal standing with the men. He's kind of like channeling a kind of like almost like a relic of the past, at least in wrestling, of like, hey, men are better at everything at wrestling. Women shouldn't be in the ring. So he's just kind of really honing in on that, and it's working because one, no one else is doing that, and also because he's such a easily hateable guy from like the way he looks and his how he talks. Like you're just like, oh, screw that guy. But yeah, he's doing that, and of course he before the match, he takes his shirt off and is saying how all the women surrounding the ring can't contain themselves, just immediately endearing himself to the roster. And, Asuka came out, and pretty much the match was just, Ellsworth trying to run, the woman not letting him, him getting his licks in, or not getting his licks in, but taking licks from Asuka. And then, of course, like almost every lumberjack match ever, at one point, the Lumberjills started fighting each other for no sensible reason, which allowed Carmella to, Asuka won the match still. Like, she attempted to give, or Carmella attempted to give James a spray bottle of arrogance to spray him. That's a reference to old school WWF for you older fans out there, but the arrogance did not work, and James was choked out. But the Asuka log was tapping like a baby. But then afterwards, James and Carmella double teamed Asuka, and she took the spray and then got kicked in the face. But that, and then also this ended with Byron saying that this was the worst match that he's ever seen, which I'm not sure if he's being serious or not. It's hard to tell with Byron Saxton because maybe he is just being that stupid. But yeah, that's not even, it wasn't a great match, but it's supposed to be, and also it wasn't even the worst match this month. So I don't know what that line was about, but whatever. This led to later on the night, Paige adjusted the women's title match to where James Ellsworth will be suspended from the ring in a shark cage to prevent him from interfering. And that gimmick has been used a lot in the last, couple years now. Last year and a half, 2 years. Like, that shark cage, we've had it, we had it in NXT with Paul Ellering and the Authors of Pain. We had it at the Royal Rumble last year with Jericho and Owens, with Jericho being in the cage, and now it's we had it at SummerSlam last year with Enzo, and between the match with Big Cass and Big Show, and now it's back again. They have fallen in love, or re-fallen back in love with that shark cage concept. So I wonder if they would have done that with Drew McIntyre to keep him out of the Ziggler match, but maybe he'd be too big. That's a big person to suspend in a shark cage. So who knows? But yeah, Ellsworth is going to be dangling there. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. We had a pretty funny Team Hell No and New Day segment backstage where once again Kane quoted NSYNC, which was pretty great. Cause they were backstage trying to talk strategy about how to take on Sanity and the Bludgeon Brothers, and Big E is rallying all of them, just saying you do this, you do this, you do this, and they're all like, yeah. And then, because earlier Kane suggested just setting all of them on fire and sending them to hell, which Bryan was like, well, we can't do that. We can't open a portal. And Kane responded, he corrected Bryan by saying it's technically a gateway to hell and not a portal. You have to get those things right. And then when Big E was trying to rally Kane, he proceeded to quote, I can't remember this specific NSYNC song, but it was great because it was very subtle, because he just kind of starts quoting a lyric, and I thought he was being legit, and it goes over their head for a moment, and they're like, yeah, and then Bryan just stops and goes, wait, was that NSYNC? And then Kane's like, either way, it still applies, and then Bryan just screams, it still applies, and then they start going back to cheering. It was funny. It was a good segment. I like that. Hell No has been, they have not missed a beat in terms of comedy, so, which is good. Let's see. After that, we've got Sin and Andrade Cien Almas. Remember this feud? It's been on the ice chest for the last month or so. But if you don't remember, so Andrade Cien Almas, when he came up from NXT, his first feud was with Sin Cara, who they alluded to having a past. They knew each other back in the day. I think they said since they were 14, and Sin Cara is confused. He's bamboozled by Almas's change in attitude. He's like, we were friends, and he's like brushing me off ever since he met Zelina Vega. And then Andrade took exception to this and has attacked Sin Cara. So this is technically their blow-off match. And it was a good match, you know. It was short. Sin Cara got in a somewhat surprising amount of offense. He got the show off quite a bit, but Andrade came out on top. It's good to see Andrade on TV again. It's crazy that he's kind of been gone for this long, given that he probably still holds the best pure wrestling match of the year in WWE in terms of his NXT Takeover bout with Johnny Gargano for the NXT title at the beginning of the year. That was if you have not seen that match, go watch it, because it really is it is a barn burner of a match, as JR would say. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope we see more of Andrade more consistently, because he has grown leaps and bounds since NXT, and specifically since they gave him Zelina Vega, who is a fantastic heel manager. She plays that part to a T, and I would like to see them, depending if Jeff retains the U.S. title on Sunday, I wouldn't mind Andrade getting the next shot. That seems like that would be a perfect fit for him, but we'll see what they do with him. And then finally we got the main event, the 10-man tag main event between the New Day and Team Hell No versus Sanity and the Bludgeon Brothers. And this was a cluster, especially towards the end, as you would expect. It was an entertaining cluster, though. Sanity have t-shirts now. They have merch, which I don't know why I'm pointing that out. I don't think I've ever seen a Sanity t-shirt that I can remember, but they have t-shirts now. Killian Dane was wearing one during the entire match. And one of the things that was interesting to me is that at one point, Eric Young and Daniel Bryan went at it. They were both the legal men and got to wrestle a bit for each other, which was very entertaining in the sense that there was a point back in 2014 after Bryan, won the WWE Championship in the main event of WrestleMania 30. And then Eric Young, who was still in TNA / Impact Wrestling / Global Force Wrestling / whatever you want to call it, or whatever they want to be known as, almost immediately after Bryan won, TNA more or less did the same story of Eric, who himself is a smaller, bearded man, captured the world title out of nowhere and treated it like this underdog moment. And he was also kind of being targeted by Dixie Carter, who was like the authority figure and like sort of kind of owner. So not unlike Stephanie McMahon. So very much at the time was perceived as TNA just ripping off the Daniel Bryan story wholesale. So just seeing those two battle each other in a WWE ring was a nice little kick for me, given all of that history. But yeah, the match was fine. Sanity and Bludgeon Brothers are an interesting fit, and they could be a pretty powerful, like if they ever join forces, like more like permanently, like as a giant super group, because they have their aesthetics mesh well, and also they're all big dudes with the exception of Eric, and I guess sort of kind of Alexander Wolf, but he's like medium size. But yeah, they were just they lost though. The good guys won after Daniel Bryan hit the running knee on Eric Young for gimmick infringement. He's been waiting to do that for 4 years, and yeah, they walked out the win. I was a little surprised. I thought the bad guys were going to pick this one up. Sanity's lost a lot since they've come up, which I'm not super big on. I like Sanity. They're a good stable. They're eating too many pinfalls for my liking, but at least, I mean, what can you do, I guess. But post-match, there was a funny thing where Kane and Daniel Bryan are heading up the ramp, and Bryan's doing his yes chants, and then Kane decides to take over the yes chants to kind of prove that he can do it or do it better. And then Bryan retaliates by trying to do Kane's old summoning the fire pose, when he raises his arms up and drops him and fire shoots out, which is funny given that like WWE has since ditched pyro because of money reasons. I don't think it's because they can't afford it. I think they just don't want to spend the money on pyro, so that's why we haven't had pyro in the last over a year or so, with the exception of WrestleMania. Except that Bryan, after multiple attempts of trying to do the Kane thing and Kane saying, hey, no, it's not going to work, that's my thing, on, I think, the third try, fire shoots up on the stage, which was amazing. He somehow managed to summon millions of dollars to get the budget up, to get the pyro out. So he opened up the gateway to hell, which was the gateway to Vince McMahon's bank account, I guess, to spring to get some fire. And it wasn't the full stage fire like Kane's pyro used to be. It was like 2, but still, that's more pyro than we're gonna get for the rest of the year, probably until WrestleMania. So unless maybe now they'll do it. I doubt it, but they just got $1 billion from Fox, so maybe we'll get some pyro, at least for Kane. It's weird to see Kane and not have the pyro entrance. The kind of fake pyro sound effect is not the same, and it's actually kind of worse in a way. It's like I'd rather just not have the sound of pyro and just have this music kick off than to kind of do this crappy in between. But yeah, that was SmackDown Live. Fine show. SmackDown in general has been much better and more an easier pill to swallow than Raw for the last couple months. Actually, probably since WrestleMania. SmackDown has a great roster in terms of pure wrestling, because you've got Styles on top, Nakamura, Hardy, Bryan, which was a bonus really, because that was not expected. Like Bryan and Andrade, New Day, like Sanity. Like, they have a very strong roster right now, and the shows have been good. They've been really entertaining. So I'm excited to see the SmackDown end of things at Extreme Rules. I know they announced that New Day and Sanity are going to battle in the pre-show in a tables match. So at least we got one more Extreme match on there, even if it's on the pre-show. And we'll see if Styles retains against Rusev. I expect him to. I think Styles is in for I think he's going to break Punk's record in terms of like the longest WWE title reign of the modern era. He's already the longest reigning champion since Punk's reign. And there's no shortage of opponents for him to have one-off title defenses with, which is something I'm cool that they're doing with Rusev. Is, he doesn't need to win this match. He just needs to look good in defeat. And it's cool to give guys that a shot. Just throw them out there to see how they'll do. Because, even if Rusev doesn't win here, if he performs well, that'll show that he can hang in that spot, which I think he can. I mean, Jinder Mahal won the title last year, and Rusev's infinitely more accomplished than Jinder was prior to winning that title. So we'll see. Stranger things have happened. Maybe Rusev wins Sunday. But yeah, that'll wrap it up this week for SmackDown Live. So next time you'll hear me will be after Extreme Rules. Again, that's this Sunday. Big show, a big 4-hour extravaganza of extremeness. So I'll have a review for that either right after the show that night or Monday morning. But yeah, thanks for listening. Subscribe. Go listen to the Monday Night Raw review and tell me what you think. So until next time, see you Sunday. Have fun. Bye-bye.